Guys that identify as red pill are in some ways the opposite of guys that identify as white knight, because they see girls as very like slutty, scandalous, deceitful, untrustworthy, all these kind of things, even evil, highly manipulative, those kind of things. So it's kind of an opposite perspective. But the funny thing is, a lot of guys that are red pill started out as white knight, and the reason they got to the red pill is because they were hurt, or they saw other people around them be hurt by women. And so they arrived at these conclusions about women, not only as factual conclusions, but with a lot of pain attached to them. And so they take these from a very negative way. Like, for example, let's take the word slut, right? The word slut is a very judgmental word. You could also say sexually open, right? Slut means it's a bad thing. Sexually open could be a good thing. If you're implying a judgment, you're implying that the world should be a certain way. You're trying to impose your will on other people. You're trying to be manipulative. So in the same way that women are trying to be manipulative, someone who is trying to change women's behavior is also trying to be manipulative. And so a lot of times, a lot of the things that red pill people say, and a lot of things they've realized as true about the world are actually very good observations. I actually agree with many of them. But the problem is when you have these factual realizations and you also attach a lot of pain to them, now you're coming at them from like a very aggressive standpoint, and now you're coming at them in a very negative way. So rather than understand what women are and just be okay with it and accept it, if you understand what they are and you're very negative about it, you're going to be creating very negative vibes with them. You're going to be encouraging them to be very negative. And it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're creating a very negative environment towards women in your life, of course women are going to be mean to you, disloyal to you, and not want to be a part of your life. So it's kind of this vicious cycle. So while I do believe there is a lot of very good information and a lot of truth in a lot of the things that red pill people believe, and I do believe that men should have as many rights as women and a lot of those kind of things that tend to go along with the red pill philosophy, it is very important that you stick to facts and not let emotions cloud your judgment, and not become sort of, in being emotional and negative, become as bad or worse than the problems you're trying to solve.
I think that a lot of times the guys who are into the red pill stuff, a lot of times, and I hate to generalize, right? But a lot of times those guys come from a lot of pain. You know, they've experienced some sort of pain, whether it be lack of women or some girl hurt them, and then that's the route you go, you know? And then the white knight guys, you know, I don't know where to begin with that, but they bother me just as much, you know, because I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, you know, like, you can't generalize, say all women are like this. Just like all, you can't say all guys are like this, right? You know, do you meet a lot of guys like you? And I don't know. I think when you generalize any group, any large group, especially half the population like that, it's you do yourself a disservice, right? Because I feel like there's they're both right, in a certain, but the truth is more somewhere in the middle, you know, like this. Any extreme ideologies are rarely correct in my opinion. I feel like there's all in the middle is where you find the truth most of the time, you know. I don't know if hating women gets you more women, right? So I guess it's what the goal is.
Right, exactly. Is it actually even productive?
Yeah, exactly. No. Like, if they're all sluts or they're all angels, I don't really care, you know. I just want to have sex, man. Whatever happened to, like my buddy Roosh, like I'm friends with Roosh, right? We're like actually friends, like that's my boy. And I know a lot of his fans are into that white red pill shit. And I'm just like, man, I was like talking to other Roosh, whatever happened to fucking bitches and, you know, getting pussy, man? When did it turn into all this other shit, you know? It's still my man, you know, still my boy. I was just like, when did it turn into all this shit? How does that help anybody do anything, you know? I don't know.
Gotcha. So, what would you say to a guy who's been hurt by women? Like, how do you personally handle that kind of a thing?
I've been hurt.
Okay.
One of my exes, man, she cheated on me with Nas the rapper.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not mad at Nas, you know.
I mean, I'm sure she was hot and he was being a man. And, okay.
Yeah, and you know, if she's gonna cheat on someone, if she got to pick someone to cheat with, she's got to pick, you know, the millionaire. Well, top 5 greatest rappers of all time. Okay, I get it. Right? How'd I deal with it? I don't know. I didn't think about it too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just like, oh yeah, you know. There's so many women out here. I mean, it hurts to get your heart broken. It hurts. I'm not gonna try to minimize that, but fucking life goes on, you know, right? I don't know. It didn't make me hate all women. Just her for a brief period of time, you know. Yeah.
Makes sense.
What do you think?
I don't know, I like that. I think that a lot of people, they get the most hurt or the most like emotionally invested in the things they're unsure of. Like if we were to have a debate about like gravity, does it exist or not? You wouldn't get emotionally, you'd be like, no, it exists. And if I was like, no, you'd be like, okay, you're an idiot, but it still exists.
Exactly.
But you wouldn't get all like uptight about it, right? So I think a lot of times when people have these very like polarized, like very like emotionally charged stances, they're not trying to convince the other person as much as they're trying to convince themselves, right? Or they're masking their own thing.
It threatens their self-concept. It threatens their ideology, so that they have to defend that.
But I like your answer because it comes from an abundant mentality. It comes from mentality. There are a lot of girls. It's not, like I think you believe in like self-reliance a lot, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the things you have in your life, you kind of got them yourself.
Yeah.
And if someone took them away, you probably get them again, so to speak, right?
No.
But it's the guys, it's the guys that don't have confidence in like what they've done or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are the people that have the most trouble, and those are the people that I think are the most insecure, right?
Right.
Or like,
yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point. Like if somebody say, Todd, you're an Asian woman, you'd be like, you wouldn't debate that. You'd be like,
okay,
all right, man, sure. I feel like if you're so sure about something, I don't know if you need to post blog post about it or make a big fucking deal about it all the time. It's like, yeah, this is what it is. Like I'm an atheist. I don't get into arguments with other religions because I'm like, oh yeah, all right, cool, man. Because I like truly just don't believe in God, right? And so I don't need to defend that belief. I'm just like, oh yeah, all right, cool, man. If you believe that, that's cool. No big deal.
Cool.
Pretty confident there's no God.
And then lightning comes down right now. I'm just kidding. So far we discussed kind of two life strategies. On the one hand, you have white knight, which is kind of like living with way too much focus on women, trying to get in their business and directing way too much of your life and energy around them. On the other hand, we have like the more like, extreme red pill, which would be like completely rejecting women, saying it's a waste of time, don't even have women in your life, just cut them all out, they're not worth it. But I would suggest there's a middle road, and I consider that what I call the attractive man, and I'll give you a few tenets of that. The first tenet of that is to live your life in such a way that you would be happy without women, but you also want and appreciate women in it, okay? So you're not completely rejecting women, but you're not like making them the center of your life. You're living a life where you're creating a lot of value and abundance on your own. One, because you enjoy that yourself, and two, because you will have that to share with women. Like a lot of white knights, they live in scarcity and they would give anything for a woman, but they have nothing to offer. A lot of red pills, they've rejected women and they won't give anything to them, and so they seem miserly and the women don't want anything to do with them. Create a world of such abundance that you can afford to be generous. Okay, the people that cannot afford to be generous are the people that haven't created abundance. So live for yourself first, women second, but do have women as one of the most enjoyable, beautiful things you can have in your life. That's tenet number one. Tenet number two is understand women and accept them, okay? So white knights are accepting a version of women that is not with any understanding. It's a misunderstood perspective they've created, and they're accepting of it as long as women are that way. That's bullshit. Red pills are understanding of women, like they understand what women's nature is to a certain extent, but they're not accepting of it. They reject it and hate it and are negative towards it. Instead, what I'd suggest, understand what women are and accept it. Okay, now the question here is how can you live with them if they're untrustworthy? How can you deal with girls being kind of slutty? How can you live in that world? It's very difficult, right? Because you're putting your heart on the line, you're putting yourself out there, and you're making yourself susceptible to all kinds of negative things. And that brings me to the third tenet, which is protect yourself, but don't overprotect yourself, all right? Create healthy structures for your relationships with women. So some guys would say, women suck, I'm never getting married, I'm never gonna have a relationship. I think that's stupid. You're taking out of your life one of the most fun, enjoyable, amazing, beautiful things you can have. On the other hand, other guys would be like, just love unconditionally and make yourself susceptible to being screwed over, all these other things. What I would say is, have a relationship, have a marriage, get a prenup, all right? There's this tenet in poker that I really, really like. They say, trust everyone, but cut the cards. Meaning, live in a beautiful world, live in a world of happiness and fun and whatnot, but make sure that you've taken every precaution to protect yourself against the negative elements of the world. Because there's the guy that is so worried of like terrorism or natural disaster, he never leaves his house and never has any fun. Then there's also the guy that's cavalier and doesn't wear a seatbelt and dies in an accident stupidly, right? You want to have that middle road where you're living a quality life, but you are taking precautions. And those precautions should be based in the fact that you're creating abundance all the time and making your life better, and it should be based in the fact that you understand women and you get where you're coming from with them. And the more that you do understand women, the more that you know what they respond to and relate to, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. It's going to make you love them more the more you understand them. And also, the more you're providing a good, positive environment for them, you'll find a lot of the negative characteristics, the lying, cheating, manipulation, tend to go away because you're creating an environment where they're smart to have an alliance with you. So you can't stop a girl from cheating, lying, being manipulative. You cannot stop her entirely. But what you can do is you can create an environment where she would be very, very foolish to do it because you're providing so much value to her. And when you do that, women are very good at acting their self-interest. And when your self-interest is aligned, you'll have very, very healthy relationships.